In one of the biggest hit TV shows, all the way in the 8th season, fans of the TV show had one major question. It was, who is the mother in How I Met Your Mother? They had been wondering for such a long time, and in the season 8 finale, they finally had their answer. Accompanying that moment, though, was a song. Not a lot of people had heard of the band singing the song before, but the band itself was a huge hit in the indie rock circle. What was that song, you may ask? Well, the song was called The Simple Song, and the band that sung it is called The Shins. Not only is that fact interesting, but even the whole moment leading up to that song being made has such an interesting story behind it, and it's what I wanted to talk about this week in the Indie Grounds podcast. I wanted to thank you guys all for listening and your support so far. I always just have one thing to ask every single time. Just mention this podcast to just one person. Highlighted it to one person. Also, our YouTube channel is starting to grow and get bigger. So far, I've just been releasing shorts, but I am going to start releasing entire episodes that we've done so far in the past here on this Spotify podcast, that is. Can't even talk today. And then eventually, I will be releasing new episodes simultaneously on both YouTube and Spotify at the same time when they catch up. But as I said, let's get back into this week's podcast. We are going to talk about the song, The Simple Song, by The Shins. Now, what's interesting again, I'm going to build a little bit of backstory before we get to it actually being released on TV. Now, The Shins is a band. The lead singer, kind of lead man of the band, is called James Mercer. And up to that point of them making the song, it had been roughly around 15 years since The Shins had been around as a band. Now, at that point as well, James was kind of hitting a fork in the road, I guess you could say, because, again, they had been around for a while. They had gained pretty good success, especially, and almost ironically, the last album before had been their biggest one to date. They had been up for Grammy Awards. This was their third album, Wincing the Night Away. This was in 2007. Before that, Chutes Too Narrow in 2003 had the single New Slang. And they were really starting to hit their stride. And what's ironic is Mercer was really not feeling it anymore. You know, and you think that's strange, right? That they had just finally broken through the mainstream. They were finally, getting huge attention. They were going on all these talk shows, gaining this recognition. And he said at that point in time, he almost killed the entire band. He almost just wanted to just end all of it, get rid of the Shins, not continue forward. And he said, this is even going to be a deep dive I want to get into one day. He said that there was a huge turning point in Heath Ledger's death where he kind of saw that principle of always saying yes and keeping yourself open opportunities rather than no. And what he decided to do was when they went into the fourth album, Port of Morrow, which is the album which Simple Song is on, he actually scrapped everybody from the band. He kind of puts it, of course, one way. He says that he actually symbolically got rid of himself from the Shins. But, you can talk to the band members that got kicked out. Even though a few of them kind of understood that even if they had it and it got kicked out, then he probably would have just let himself go. And again, he's the heart and soul of the group. So, I think they kind of saw it as it was. But he got rid of everybody except for himself. And he brought on a whole brand new crew into the band to release that album, their fourth album. A lot of people even kind of wondered if the Shins were done at that point. because it had been almost 5 years since their last album had been done. And of course, this is before social media, got big. So you didn't really know if they didn't release anything on their website or if they weren't touring. You didn't really know, especially with indie bands, what they were doing. So again, it had been close to 5 years. A lot of their fans kind of thought that they were done, that they were not making any more music. It had been too long. And that was going to be it. Maybe they kind of just go out on a high note. But then they released Port of Morrow. It was their 4th album. Brand new people, brand new band. The song itself, simple song that is a little over 4 minutes long. It was also, he even brought in new producers, a new studio when they released this album and this song as well. And the song itself is very Shins-like. It's very basic in structure, just drums, keyboard, bass. And then they have a simple kind of piano riff playing up and down a scale almost the entire time throughout the song. Some pretty simple piano chords as well. And the song itself, I mean, if you listen to the Shins, a lot of his music is just very simple, but very honest, and with Simple Song, that's exactly what it is. He said that it's kind of twofold what the song is actually about. One part of it is he had just gotten married recently, and it was almost like him seeing the start of his new family. And you can read a couple of lines, especially from the last part of the verse, or rather the last verse of the song. And then the kind of openness of the chorus, kind of opening yourself up to people. But the second part of it was even written about kind of the departure of his old band and starting a new one. Kind of just throwing yourself out there, both for the old people and then for the new people, kind of trusting that they were going to take care of him. He was going to take care of them. So it was kind of twofold, very interesting. So again, kind of the peak of the story is the song gets picked up by and heard by many people. It starts charting, and it does pretty well. On the alternative songs Billboard in the United States, it peaked at number 10. So it did pretty good on the weekly charts. The music video is hilarious. You have to watch the music video for this song. And then, again, in the Season 8, Episode 24 episode of How I Met Your Mother, that's when they finally find out who the mother is. It's a big moment for the entire TV show. And then that song starts playing over the video. So that's kind of when they hit their peak. And the Shins are still going as a band even to this day. They released another album after Port of Morrow. They're still going. Their lineup has kind of even changed since then. But James Mercer is even going well. One day too, and what's interesting is just before or around the time of Port of Morrow, he started his collab with another famous indie band, Broken Bells, who I am definitely going to talk about one day, because that is such a huge kind, I guess you could call them super group. That was also happening around the same time as this. But again, that's going to be another day. I want to thank everybody for listening to this history of the song Simple Song by the Shins. And I hope to release another episode and hear from you guys soon. Take care.